social media seems to be robbing people of common sense.
Think about the people who you're listening to. Be introspective. It might be uncomfortable.
More people are able to make their voices heard, and so all the people who never had common sense are now very loud. Hello, and welcome to the Pop Culture Contrarian podcast with Thomas, Sterling, and Andrew.
Hello.
Hey, guys.
Our topic today is going to be the chopped liver king. So we're going to dive into this. We're going to dive into this social media guy, the Liver King. You may have heard of him. You may not. In either case, we're going to have something that you probably haven't heard before. Before we get started, go to patriotpostshop.com and buy this Deneen Pottery Gadsden mug. It's handcrafted in, I want to say Minnesota. I could have that wrong, but it's handcrafted. So there's you'll find like fingerprints on it somewhere sometimes.
Minnesota.
It's a very cool little mug. Great for coffee. Great for whatever. Go check out patriotpostshop.com and buy it. There's stickers, shirts, books, whatever. That is one of the best ways you can help keep us at the PopCon on the air. The very best way you can help keep PopCon on the air is by hitting the bell on YouTube so you know when we drop a video.
Subscribe to patriotpost.us and keep us on the air. It's right. It's free. Subscribe.
All right, let's get started. Andrew, take us away. Who is this liver guy?
The Liver King. He is the pinnacle of male masculinity.
Hello, let us begin by introducing ourselves. I am Hans.
I'm Franz.
And we want to pump you up.
No, not really. He's the disgraced pinnacle of social media male masculinity, as it were. But this guy, he's from Texas. His name's Brian Johnson. He's a super viral fitness influencer.
I don't think anybody was ready for what was going to come out when you have all these eyeballs on you.
Just for the record, I've never taken steroids.
We saw existing customers drop. The messenger has killed the message.
Leaked emails, blood test results, and it is shocking to say the least.
This has really become a trend on the internet the last few years, these sort of fitness guru folks, and they're almost always selling a course or a supplement or some kind of a health benefit product or process.
So Liver King, his big thing must have been eat more fruits and veggies.
What? Vegetables?
Yes, fruits and veggies that come out of animals. His claim to fame has been, or at least what he got most popular by, is this whole, I guess you could call it nose to tail eating. It's an ancestral eating trend, similar to like the carnivore diet, but it's kind of to an extreme. And he focuses on eating organ meat, liver, of course, being one of the most important ones in his mind, because as he says it, all alpha predators go for the liver first.
And there is actually some truth in that, but, you know, humans don't behave like tigers or orcas. That's a thing.
Yes.
So why are we talking about the Liver King?
Well, there's a Netflix documentary.
Yes.
And kind of to wrap this up in a brief bow, this guy, he's super duper macho, huge guy.
Oh, yeah.
He did the whole podcast circuit, became super viral on social media, and sold like millions of dollars worth of his liver supplements and claimed that he was all natural. He wasn't taking any testosterone or HGH or steroids or any male enhancing kind of workout supplements. And he became, that was like his brand. That was his thing. You too can become this super macho, massive, like crazy guy.
All natural kind of thing.
Naturally, if you just eat livers.
Yeah.
Mm.
And follow his 9 tenets of his ancestral,
right,
whatever it is.
And we'll read those, but before we read those 9 tenets, the Netflix documentary, long story short, he got found out.
Did you mislead people?
As is totally predictable.
He was juicing?
He was juicing.
No way.
I'm shocked. Shocked, I tell you.
Yes. Well, if you listen to Joe Rogan, he always said, like, dude, this guy's not natural.
Yeah. Right.
And then on the other side of this, Joe, like, mocked him mercilessly.
Oh, yeah.
And Joe Rogan's a big fitness enthusiast and guru of his own right, I guess. He's not selling anything in that regard, but, you know, he had every right to mock him.
The Liver King thing drives me nuts because that guy's on steroids.
But, he, you know, in order to maintain his empire, I guess, he decided to do a whole come to Jesus, as it were, and say, yeah, I was wrong. Please forgive me.
I'm making this video to apologize. Because I'm embarrassed and ashamed. Because I lied and I misled a lot of people.
As we see it, it's I'm sorry I got caught more than I'm actually sorry. But Netflix did a documentary on this, his whole viral rise to fame, and then his disgrace, and then his groveling back. And ultimately, that's kind of what we're talking about today. And then some secondary, I guess, ramifications and topics surrounding this whole trend and movement.
Yeah, because there's a lot going on. This is obviously a pop cultural figure, but he kind of is a symptom of a pop cultural movement as well.
Right.
So just real quick, we mentioned the 9 tenets. I had to pull them up real fast, but you gave me time, so that's good.
What are the Liver King's 9 ancestral tenets? They are the forces that have nourished us and shaped us to epigenetically express our highest and most dominant form in order to be the baddest predators that ever lived.
So his 9 tenets are, he sums them up in a single word: sleep, eat, move, shield, connect, cold, sun, fight, bond. So, you know, sleep, that one's pretty obvious. You need to have sleep.
And sleep's good for you.
Yeah.
Eating's good for you.
Eating specifically, I guess, liver.
Yeah.
Move,
Whole
you know,
foods.
move is going to be like exercise. It's going to be lift heavy things. It's not going to be just move around. Shield, I don't know what that one is. What is shield? It says
It's
avoid danger.
Well, shield, normally he talks about it like turning off your Wi-Fi and getting away from technology and
Seed oils.
yeah, that kind of stuff. Like keeping bad things away from you.
Connect. Our early ancestors were in constant contact with the earth 24/7, 365. So I guess walk around barefoot or something.
Yeah, that's the whole like grounding idea of like you walk around barefoot and like it regulates your nervous system by way of electrical, magnetic, whatever.
Right. And then cold, I guess that's like ice baths. That kind of ties into like the whole Wim Hof method thing, which there's genuine health benefits to that. It's good for your heart, I think. And it also, I think, helps boost your metabolism if you do an ice bath. Sun, you need vitamin D. It prevents tooth decay, he says, increases immunity, and promotes overall health. Fight. I mean, I think you understand what fight means.
It's exercise, I guess.
Yeah. Well, but also like be a warrior in some way where you're able to defend yourself and what's yours. And then bond, the power of connection, support, and traditions to enhance your well-being. So like engage in your culture, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, the way he puts it is just having a close family tie.
Community.
And he says like community tribe, basically, because he's a very ancient tribal kind of idea.
So, I mean, as far as 9 tenets to live your life by, these aren't terrible.
I mean, at face value, I don't think you can go wrong by loosely following some version of this.
Yeah.
Just if you want to improve certain aspects of your life.
Right.
I think the problem is when you go to the extremes, and also when you leave out certain aspects such as like spirituality and training of the mind.
Right. Well, and just when you neglect the being honest and behaving in a way that is honorable.
Like having a moral code.
Yeah.
Like there's no morality in this code.
No.
Well, that is his moral code, is it not?
This is as close as he comes to having one, yeah.
I guess you could say.
I mean, that's kind of what he's saying. If you do these things according to how he preaches it, then it'll benefit you.
Yeah.
But they're very carnal. And I think that gets to a bigger point here. This is just a piece of what it means to be a man. There are aspects of this that I think actually are beneficial, but it's incomplete.
Yeah. Obviously, women can do this too, but we're going to focus on the man aspect because he is kind of really popular among men. We're all men here, so
I mean,
we're
that's his
focus on
audience of appeal, I think.
So yeah, there's this theory. I saw this video of some old cowpoke. It dressed up as an old cowpoke at least, and he was talking about how a lot of men today are really engaging on the like gym rat stuff, learning to get swole, getting big muscles, which is good. And he said that's good. That's 1/3 of being a man. So if you have that, you've got 1/3 of being a man. There's still 2/3 you need. So this actually goes back to a really old Platonic concept from Plato, the tripartite soul, which is logos, which is located in the head. It's about reason. Thymos, which is chest, related to spirit or soul. And eros, which is the stomach, relating to desire. So I guess being physical, all kind of physical appetites, being able to, sexuality, all that stuff would go into eros. Thymos, the soul, the spirit, is going to be for us, and this is what this cowboy was saying, knowing Christ, going to church, reading your Bible, getting to know Christ better. That's how you feed the soul part of you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also have to feed the mind part of you. And this guy was talking about like reading poetry, reading Shakespeare or whatever, good literature, going to cultural events, getting to know the system that has given birth to you and actually taking it in and learning about it and, analyzing it. So those are the three things. If you have all three of those things, if you have the logos, the thymos, and the eros, according to Plato, and it's a pretty solid concept, then you're a more well-rounded man. You're all 3/3 of a man.
So a little bit more about this documentary, and I'll just go over, I guess, the overarching themes of this documentary.
Mm-hmm.
So they focus on his rise to fame, his early life, and then his apology. Those are kind of like the three main things. I'll start with his early life.
Mm-hmm.
And this is important because I feel like he especially, but also Netflix, is kind of just saying, it's again this idea of I'm kind of a victim because of my past.
Mm-hmm.
And so this guy, Brian Johnson, he grew up, his dad died at a very young age when he was like a very little boy.
I think they said 2 or 3.
Yeah. And his dad apparently was a veterinarian. So he came from like a good family, but he had no male role models growing up because he didn't have a dad, which is a thing that happens to a lot of young men today. Mm-hmm. And I think has spurred so much of the yearning for understanding manhood and masculinity. And unfortunately, he was a victim to that because he had nothing to do with that. Losing his dad at a young age.
Right.
From there on, he was also kind of scrawny, so he got picked on in school. And his only male role models were, and he talks about these big movies from the 80s like Rambo and the big macho kind of 80s movies.
Look, I'm coming to get you.
And he talks about an older brother, I think.
And he had an older brother who, to him, was like the world.
Yeah.
Those were his male role models, essentially 80s macho cinema and his big brother. And from there, he got into gym culture and working out. And then he started doing all of these hustles, like defrauding GNC or like doing international drug trafficking and like crazy stuff.
Yeah. I don't know. Did he say international?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I missed that. He said he did things like he worked at a GNC, which is, I guess, a pharmacy or something.
Yeah. Well, it's a supplement store.
Supplement store. Okay. See, I don't know what GNC is. So anyhow, he worked there and people would bring in like mostly empty pill bottles for refunds and he'd have to give it to him. And he figured out a way to basically take those then empty bottles and go to other GNCs and do exactly the same thing and get
money.
A refund for something he never bought. And then he even said something that sounded to me like he was saying the words were literally, I printed money. So it sounded to me like he was admitting to counterfeiting money. I guess the statute of limitations has run out or something because I don't know why he'd admit that.
He either meant that or he meant it in the colloquial
metaphor.
sense.
As a metaphor.
I took it literally. That's what it seemed to mean to me.
Who knows with this guy? Yeah. It could have been either. It's clear that he's a grifter.
Yeah.
So it could have been either.
Yeah. I will say that was vindicating for me, hearing him talk about that. Like, this is what I was doing in my early life, is reselling empty pill bottles, getting money back. I was like, oh, my gut judgment of you the moment I learned about you years ago was exactly right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think to your point about him not having solid male role model, a father, I think that goes to a lot of these, what we're seeing with these kind of male role models that aren't great male role models.
Yeah, like Andrew Tate.
Yeah, they just don't. There's a whole lot to being a man, and what these kind of influencers do is they boil it down to like one or two things, and then they like focus on that, and they hype that up. Like my question with kind of like guys like the Liver King here, he'll look like that for maybe 20 years if he's really really sticking to it.
Yeah. And
But
he seems to be.
Yeah, but invariably, what happens? He gets old. His body slows down. Those muscles start to be less strong, and I mean, it's aging. It happens.
Yeah. That's why I started juicing.
If your identity is completely tied up in what you look like physically and how much you can lift, what happens when your body starts to fail you? Where's your identity go at that point?
Yeah. Interestingly, so y'all know who Dick Van Dyke is.
Yes.
Famous movie star. He's like, I think he's really close to 100.
Yeah,
if he's not 100
he
yet.
is pretty close.
But he's still like, some fairly recent videos still have him doing some of his old dances from like Mary Poppins and stuff. And like he's still got the footwork for a 90-something-year-old. Very impressive. And he said, he started working out to look good, and then he started working out to be able to keep moving, and now he just works out for spite. but people like Dick Van Dyke who make it to 100 still able to work out even are few and far between. There are not a lot of those, and odds are that the Liver King won't be one of them, just statistically.
Well, if you look at bodybuilders, you want to look at something fascinating, look at the history of bodybuilders.
I know where you're going with this.
It is not a pretty picture when they get old.
Yeah.
And a lot of them don't really live that long.
No, statistically, they have a greatly diminished longevity outcome.
Mm-hmm.
I have looked up something similar which is like professional athletes. They don't have an increased life expectancy either. So like the people who spend decades of their lives following strict regimen and being the best possible athlete they can be, that doesn't apparently make them live longer, I guess, because they're putting themselves through so much trauma, physical trauma.
Yeah, often, especially when it's pretty intense contact sport or rigorous physical demanding. Like you're just like anything, your body is finite and you're using up elements of it, especially those joints. When you're getting extra pressure on those and stuff like that, eventually they're gonna be susceptible to wear and tear.
So what you're saying is by 60 Batman should be unable to move.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah,
I mean,
Sorry, Batman.
A lot of NFL players, when they get pretty old, I mean, their knees are going bad.
Yeah,
not just NFL, NBA players and everything. They get and especially when you're that size.
Yeah,
there's often it just compounds things.
Yeah. Well, when you see somebody like the Liver King, he doesn't want to live like a super duper long time. He's interested in right now, and he wants the adoration and the respect and the attention, and he wants to best the bullies, and that's it.
Yeah,
and he wants to make all the money.
Yeah, and you have to take everything this guy says with a grain of salt, including sad stories about his childhood. Like I'm like, okay, but were you though, or is that just part of your grift? But there's one scene in the documentary where he's talking to his sons and he's like, I could drop dead tomorrow, and you know what I'd want you to say? And the sons say, good. And he's like, that's right, good, because y'all know how to take care of yourselves. You know how to look after yourselves and protect yourselves. And so I did good. I did my job good. And
that's
so,
a
yeah.
Jocko Willink reference, the good.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's a video of Jocko saying, like, if bad things happen, good, because it makes you stronger or whatever.
Direct subordinates, one of my guys that worked for me, he would call me up or pull me aside with some major problem, some issue that was going on. And he'd say, boss, we got this and that and the other thing. And I'd look at him and I'd say, good.
Okay. Well, I don't feel that way. I'd like bad things not to happen personally. But this is my hot take of the day. Sterling is against bad things. There you go.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Revolutionary!
All right, Andrew. So you talked on his early life a little bit, and then we got rabbit trailed, as we do.
As we do.
So how did he become this Liver King social media guy with 100 million likes on TikTok or whatever?
The catalyst was, as he says, something he discovered from his kids being sick. As when they were young, apparently they were in the hospital all the time, had some anaphylactic type things, probably some sort of an allergy, presumably a food allergy, and he read a few books, Mark Sisson, I think. Yeah, Ancestral Living book.
Okay.
And this is kind of the whole back to basics, eating whole food stuff like our ancient ancestors would have eaten. This author wrote about all that, and so they decided to try it with their kids. And according to the Liver King, Brian Johnson, it had a profound impact, positive impact on their health and the whole family's health. And so he wanted to share that with the world. And he started making his own content just on his own about it and trying to build. And he came up with this, apparently he came up with this supplement. I'm not sure if he came up with it himself or not. But ultimately, that's the story, that he wanted to share this transformative thing he found with the world. And so he approached John Hyland of an agency, like a talent agency, IDS, I think is what it's called, and said, hey, I want 20-something million followers. What do we do?
Yeah.
And this is something that people may not realize about everything you see on social media or on the news or in movies or any kind of media that you consume. There's a group of people behind it with an agenda, and they're trying to sell you something.
Except for us.
We
Go
only
to patriotpostshop.com and buy stuff.
Yes. We only sell mugs and propaganda.
Yes.
This is a really capable agency, a talent agency, and they focused on snackable content is what it's called, along with like viral, entertaining stuff. And the idea is gaining attention within the first 3 seconds.
Yeah.
And people just ate it up, figuratively.
Isn't this kind of the whole TikTok
It is.
method?
Yeah, it's the short content, but it's like taking that and just really optimizing it. And doing it better than anybody else.
Right. And this guy, just by himself, he always walks around without a shirt on, and he's got like every muscle is well defined. You can see the veins standing out, and he's like almost beet red all the time.
Yeah.
And he's got a beard bigger than Andrew. Anyhow, so just, he's usually wearing like a wolf's head too on his head. So that, and then a big beard, and then shirtless, rippling muscles. That's going to be pretty attention getting right at first. But then like, I think in the documentary, they said one of his first big things was him pulling Ford F-250 or something like that.
Yeah.
With big, huge chains. And it was just in neutral, I guess, allegedly.
Yeah.
And he was pulling it just because he's so strong.
And he does other things like eating crazy, like eating bull testicles.
Primals, this is what Liver King and QCP are having for breakfast today. That's right, bull ball. Say what?
Yeah, he'll have a slab of all this raw stuff that he eats. So it's really...
Someone's going to do that? And then he does it. And you're like, wow, I can't believe I just saw someone do that.
It's entertainment. And that's maybe the key thing here is he is an entertainer. And the content is meant to be super entertaining before anything else to catch the people, the hook.
My second hot take of this episode is I am against eating testicles. That's my line in the sand.
Yep.
I'm never going to do it.
Yeah. That is probably fair.
Basically, it's like the whole kind of carnival mentality, right? People want to go see, the bearded lady and all this stuff.
Yeah. So, Liver King, the bearded lady.
Well, he would have been a great strongman, right?
Yeah.
That's what he would have been. He would have been perfect for that role at Ringling Brothers or whatever 100 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, basically, that's what we're getting. The difference being you had to go to the location, pay your quarter or nickel or whatever to get in to see all the shit. Now you can just, pull your phone up and, watch these things. There he is.
And then you just pay with your soul.
Yeah. I do think
Okay, Liver King owns souls. You heard it here first.
So one of the things that, you mentioned Joe Rogan and I think I have seen clips of Joe Rogan talking about the Liver King and
he made the whole podcast circuit, all the big podcasts. Yeah, he's on all of them.
And the Liver King was pushing to try to get on Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan would never let him on.
Yeah.
Because Joe Rogan's like,
because he's on Logan Paul.
Yeah, I don't believe this guy.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be used by him to basically promote his brand.
Well, good on Joe.
Yeah.
But he saw right through it.
Oh, he saw right through it. He's like, nobody looks like this without any help.
Yeah.
And we may not be able to make that visual assessment, but Joe Rogan definitely can.
Oh, yeah.
That's what he does.
Well, I would say most of us made that assessment anyway, because that's just not natural.
Yeah.
If, his whole thing, this is just some kind of hypocrisy in his whole shtick, because Liver King's whole shtick is I'm doing what the ancestors did. I'm eating like people did 10,000 years ago. I go bring down the bowl and then I thank it for its gift and I thank the strawberries for their gift.
Yeah.
And then I eat the raw meat, and I'm more like our ancestors than you are. Just to be clear, if this guy lived 10,000 years ago, he would be the most muscular 3 people on the entire planet.
Yeah.
No one 10,000 years ago had anything like Liver King level muscles.
They were all lean.
Right.
Yeah, and no athlete looks like that, because in order to do what you're going to do, you need the range of motion, and you need to be a little more lie and not just bulk like that. I mean, when you can't put your arms down and you're just like walking around like this, it's just impractical for living in an era when you had to defend yourself physically against all kinds of beasts and other people.
Yeah.
You're not going to want to look like that. You're just a walking target.
We see that, and it seems so obvious. It's so obvious to Joe Rogan. It's so obvious to so many people. And, of course, people like me, I watched his stuff because it was just like, what the heck is this dude? It was entertaining.
Yeah. It was freak show.
Yes.
It was freak show, exactly. But there's a huge, and I think this is a interesting point to make. There's a whole bunch of people who didn't catch those red flags. They didn't catch that critical thinking, and they're like, this guy's legit. And to the tune of like huge, let me pull up some figures here.
1.21 million YouTube subscribers, 6 million TikTok subscribers.
Hundreds of millions of video views, 250,000 subscribers to his products.
Right.
What's he worth?
And like just millions and millions of dollars.
Well, I think he said
It's
something
huge
like
money.
he made $100 million a year, or the business did.
Yeah.
And I mean, primarily based on a lie.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that gets us to the end of this. So he made so much money that he was able to spend $11,000 a month on anabolic steroids and other performance-enhancing drugs, which he consistently claimed anytime he was asked, no, I don't do it, I've never touched it, I don't even look at the stuff.
Your whole brand is I'm all natural.
Yeah. So
Well, I don't think that was intentional. I think people asked him the question, you must be on steroids, and he said no. Or at least that's how he framed it in the documentary, which again,
he always said
you
he's
can't
all
believe
natural.
anything this guy
No,
says.
but the whole all natural is a big thing, especially nowadays.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So I think this gets at a deeper truth, and that is there are so many people that are looking for empty parts of their lives, especially men and young men who are, and they are willing to ignore red flags in order to fill voids that are either based on fear or insecurity, fear of unhealth, insecurity in their own bodies, insecurity in themselves as men. And they're willing to put aside these red flags and be like, this guy's got the answers, and follow grifters and liars, and even to the other side of it when he has admitted that he's a liar, and they still follow him because they just have that void that they're trying to fill.
I think you're right that that's part of this. I never would have put that together on my own. Because to me, when I look at this, what I see is people see an entertainer, they see someone who has funny videos or cool videos. Like there's one bit where he pulls out some Beyond Meat or Impossible Burger or whatever, and he's like, I've heard about this Impossible Burger stuff. Let's give it a shot. He sets it on a table and shoots it with a shotgun. Like, that's funny.
Yeah.
I just saw people coming to be entertained, and if you're just coming to be entertained, you don't care if he's natural or not. He's still entertained.
Yeah, to that point, I agree with that. There's a lot that just want to come to be entertained, but 200,000 subscribers to his product, that's not just coming to be entertained. That's wanting to look like him. That's believing what he's saying, buying his product, and then assumedly putting it to use.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of man on the street videos where people come up and are like, hey, check out my abs. I've been doing your stuff and it's really working. And we were talking earlier how that probably anybody
working out.
If you're going to start working out and then cleaning up your diet,
yeah,
essentially just not eating processed foods and eating better foods, whether or not you take a supplement like this, is probably going to have a positive impact.
Yeah.
Considering most Americans are terribly out of shape and unhealthy.
Yeah. To repurpose a Jordan Peterson quote, and I'm probably paraphrasing instead of quoting here, but any system is better than no system.
But one thing that you could know is that a plan is better than no plan. That's a really useful thing to know, especially if you're kind of drifting.
So if your current system is sit on the couch eating a bag of Doritos watching the Liver King documentary than actually following through on his tenets and getting the sunlight, moving, connecting, all that stuff. It's going to help you. You're probably going to see positive results.
And that wouldn't have been a system, sitting on the couch doing nothing. Correct?
Right. That's the no system, and then you adopt a system.
Okay, good.
See, earlier you attacked me when I called it no system.
You just
so
said,
I can't have it either way.
You just said
Thomas.
if your system is sitting on the couch doing nothing. That's why I was saying, wait a second, no system?
Okay, but before the discussion, you got on me for doing it the other way, Thomas.
I think that everybody has
just
system.
So you know, I
Whether or
can't
not
win
they've
with him.
defined their system is another story.
Yes.
Contrarianism.
Yes.
We're the PopCons.
Yeah.
Yes, we are.
Contrarian. Keynote.
So how much Liver King supplements do you have?
0.
Yes.
Sterling.
But that is the question here, guys. How much do y'all love eating livers?
I mean, I eat it every single never.
I actually enjoy pate, which is duck liver.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
I like chicken livers.
yeah, if a lot of restaurants, some restaurants, not a lot, some restaurants have it and serve it, and it's quite good, I think. But
it's not raw, so it doesn't count.
No, it's not raw.
I gotta admit, I don't think I've eaten a liver or even tasted one since I was like 11 years old. I never liked it as a kid. Probably now, it's been 20 years, probably I wouldn't mind it, so I should give it a shot. But in terms of how much liver am I eating, it's literally nothing.
So how much, I mean, obviously his supplements that he's selling, my understanding would be that it's just like some powdered form that you put into a drink or something?
I think there's a whole line.
Of things.
I think some of them are pills, some of them are like powders and whatnot.
But the irony to that, is that's not natural.
I know, it's processed. It's totally processed.
Yeah.
But, he's not the only guy, though. There are so many guys out there. And it's funny, there's a fellow, Dr. Mike. He's really popular on YouTube. And he's kind of the viral counter to a lot of this stuff. And I really like him because he's very kind, but he's also very measured, scientific, and firm in how he approaches medicine and fitness. But he mainly focuses on medicine and disease, but he does talk about fitness too. And he talks about all the supplement stuff. But there is a trend for some of these companies to sell you all this crazy stuff that you have no idea what it does.
Yeah.
And they can make whatever claim that they want to, and it's not vetted by anybody.
It's not. Yeah, I don't think there's a regulatory body who covers supplemental stuff. In order for it to receive certain like drug classifications, obviously the FDA has to greenlight it. But a lot of these supplements and homeopathic kind of products, they don't fit under that umbrella, so there's no FDA kind of. So you're just kind of having to take their word for it. I think there's even an argument over what technically classifies as organic.
Oh, there definitely
there's
is
an argument over that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think supplements are probably along the lines of the people who've like, oh, I can use this term and get away with stuff. It's like, the first person who realized you can put non-GMO on a food label. That guy is a billionaire now because you can just put that on all sorts of things. And
So I think with the supplements, it's like anything. You really have to use your own good judgment.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff out there that's just not as advertised, and that's not to say it all is. I'm sure that there are products that are beneficial, but I think the point here is it's very easy for big influential guys like this to have an agenda and have a message and then just slap a label on a bottle and sell you an elixir, and it's like a snake oil salesman.
Yeah, that's where I was going with this. How is the Liver King not just a snake oil, Mr. Snake Oil?
I would say he absolutely is.
Yeah,
liver oil.
Yeah, and I think they all these snake oil salesmen or Liver Kings, it's based upon, especially in our era, it's based upon how you gain a following and people enjoy you or your persona and they want to support it somehow or mimic it somehow and if they like you, they start to believe you.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's the unfortunate thing about him lying about not taking any, supplements and testosterone or anything like that is people were believing, hey, he's just doing this by being all natural, and looks what it's doing to his body. My body could look like that if I put in the work and just do the natural.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the argument that it's harmless in the sense of, well, if they're not putting bad things into their body and they're working out, that's not going to hurt them.
Yeah.
But there's the other element to it of trust and honesty and morality that is just completely kind of like, well, we don't really care about that.
Yeah.
Well, absolutely right. I think the moral is there are people like this out in the world, and you have to learn how to not fall prey to them. And you have to learn. You're not born knowing not to fall prey to these guys. You have to learn it. So that's, you mentioned young guys are falling for this. That's not surprising. They don't have much experience to draw from yet. And hey, this guy's got big muscles. I'm a teenager who'd like to have big muscles. I'm going to check it out. But I actually think he serves he is a valuable early life challenge, I think, where it's like, this is the kind of thing you have to watch out for. And people are much better at it than the Liver King is. So did you fall for the Liver King? Well, then you've got a lot of learning to do. Or did you not fall for him? Okay. Now look for the guys higher up who are even better than him at doing exactly that.
And I think if you can learn from that too, you can also learn another lesson, and that is be conscious of somebody pushing an incomplete man, because being a man is not just about being a carnal man. It's about being a whole man, and ultimately whole in Jesus Christ.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that the point you made earlier about the lack of fathers, culturally speaking, I don't know that we've ever been at a point in our culture where we've had so few fathers. And the wisdom that your father hands down to you is something that you can't just get from YouTube.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
And so I think that element is why you're going to have people more susceptible, young men susceptible to
Totally agree.
these influencers who obviously don't know them, and who knows what their agenda is to make money, most of them, or fame. And so they're willing to lie. They're willing to, do crazy things and then call it masculine when you're like, well, it's not really a true wise way of living. And I do think there's one more point I made, and it delves into, this is kind of we've hit on this before, but the impact of social media to young folks like this. And it's almost like social media seems to be robbing people of common sense.
Totally.
I think what you're seeing is more people are able to make their voices heard, and so all the people who never had common sense are now very loud.
Yeah.
That's what I think it mostly is.
No, I think that, but my point being, if you're coming from a broken home, a broken family, you don't have those types of wise influence from adults in your life that you can trust, you're turning to social media to educate yourself.
Yeah.
What kind of common sense are you getting from social media? I feel like in a lot of ways it's robbing rather than offering.
Yeah, or maybe just exacerbating a problem.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. So the I guess takeaway is, if you're going to buy Liver King supplements, don't, maybe, because I don't think you can trust anything that comes out of this guy's mouth. That's how I feel.
Yeah, whether or not his supplements are legit isn't the question. It's just the messenger he's stained.
Yeah.
I mean, he's totally destroyed all credibility. And even if he said, I'm sorry, or I'm sorry for getting caught, you just can't trust him.
Right. And I think at the end of the documentary, he even makes some comment. He didn't say it explicitly, but where he was trying to say he's not on steroids anymore. And I'm like, but I don't believe you. And I'm never going to believe you now, because you were firm for years on, I've never touched this stuff. And now you're like, yeah, I touched it. Sorry, my bad. I'm done now, though. I don't do it anymore. It's like, oh, sure.
Right. Yeah, I mean, did you give back all the money you made off of that lie?
Right. Yeah.
Nope. Yeah.
Well, I guess he's an interesting figure. This is one of the people who might be influencing you or your kids or someone you know. So I think it's good to know about these people and start thinking about who to direct your kids to or direct your own attention to, who's going to give you a better lesson than don't trust me. That's not a very good lesson to learn.
Think about the people who you're listening to. I mean, even, be introspective. It might be uncomfortable. There may be some people that you're being influenced by that you're really close to, and you think, I'm a really smart sophisticated person, nobody is totally immune from this. I mean, there are examples all over the place. So do some soul searching and test the spirits, as the scripture says, and, you know, ask God for discernment.
Be very critical of who you listen to, except the Patriot Post and Pop Culture Contrarians, who you should listen to completely uncritically.
We're never wrong.
We're never wrong.
Yeah.
I personally don't know everything. I only know everything that matters.
On that note.
Yeah. Wise as serpents, harmless as doves.
That's right, Thomas.
Yeah.
Yes.
And, you know, the truth is grifters are going to grift. And this is an age-old problem.
It is. Yeah. All right. That's been today's episode of Chopped Liver King from the Pop Culture Contrarian.
Love that title.
We are Thomas, Sterling, and Andrew. Be sure to hit the bell on YouTube, like and subscribe. Check out Patriot Post Shop, patriotpostshop.com and patriotpost.us. I'm really having trouble with that today. It's the oldest conservative news digest on the web. It's right and it's free. And we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
See you guys.